This gangster went to court. He took off his shirt, revealing vicious tattoos and stab wounds. To testify against a killer he is about to acquit, the police also found scars on the killer's body. On his body from the fight that day, the murderer had killed several people in a row. After being caught by the police, he showed his fingers without fingerprints. There was no direct evidence. The man didn't have to worry about being sentenced at all. Even arrogantly reminded the police the order of the deceased deaths in the photo was wrong. Outside the courtroom, the victim's family cried loudly. Emotional breakdown. At this moment, the gangsters decided to join forces with the police to kill the murderer with the law. Shortly after, a police car drove to the prison. All the inmates came to the door. They bowed to greet their big brother. The man approached step by step. His sharp eye scanned the whole place. Soon he locks onto the murderer who is reading a book. His smile makes the other man's hair stand on end. Before the court appearance, the gangster made a deal with the police. He had to share the prison with the murderer. In the bathroom, the killer was taking a shower. The man took the rope and went in. This gangster is vicious. When the boss doesn't listen, he slapped him several times. Then the student next to him coughed because of the cigarette smell. He drops his cigarette and hands him an umbrella, telling the student to study hard. Madame Siak is a gentle badass. Soon the bus arrived. The girl gets on and leaves. Madame Siak went to the pub to have dinner with his boys. At that moment, there was a murder on the news. An umbrella was left behind, the same umbrella that Madame Siak had given to the student. That's when he rose up in anger. He gave the order. All of his men went out to search for the murderer. Soon Madame Siak received information. The murderer fled to a karaoke bar. He checked each room. At the window, he found the girls crying and singing. Madame Siak pushed open the door. He pointed to the restroom to confirm the killer's location. Then he told the girls to stand back. The murderer also stood nervously inside the door and waited. The next moment, he was crushed by the door. Madame Siak threw a heavy punch. The door panel was pierced. Then he dragged the murderer out of the scene. Don't mess with Madame Siak. Anyone who goes against him, he'll be put in a sandbag and beaten to death. His men got his face splashed by the gangster. Madame Siak breaking out the teeth of a gangster's henchman with his bare hands. Watching his brutal action, the gangster's face was full of fear. Madame Siak threw the two teeth into a cup. He poured soju and told the man to drink it. The man didn't dare not to drink. Madame Siak was so fierce that he was rear-ended on his way home. He checked the car and found no major problems. Kindly told the driver to leave, but suddenly the driver came at him with a knife. He was stabbed in the waist first. The pain made Madame Siak push him away with his fist, but the driver just wanted to kill as if he had lost his mind. Soon Madame Siak was stabbed in the chest. His palms bled from the empty-handed stabbing. With his strong physique, he was able to turn the situation around, but he also started to lose his strength due to a serious wound in his abdomen. The driver took the opportunity to get into the car. He stepped on the gas and crashed into Madame Siak. Luckily, a passerby took him to the hospital. Madame Siak woke up. He vowed to find the murderer.
A man received only 5 bullets before being sent to the battlefield. As the whistle blew, everyone charged forward. Vasily could only wait for the others to fall to get a gun, but his teammates were faster, and the German equipment was superior. The outcome was already clear when the Germans began to clear the battlefield. The Soviet officer hid beneath the bodies, yet the Germans crazily sprayed the area just to prevent anyone from playing dead. Fortunately, the officer survived. He picked up a comrade's gun to snipe the Germans. Then someone spoke behind him. It was Vasily, who had also miraculously survived. He took the gun from the officer and loaded the bullets into the magazine just as he was about to shoot. 3 more Germans appeared, meaning Vasily had to hit every shot. Even the officer thought it was impossible, but Vasily calmly fired. The second German didn't have time to react before meeting his end. Then came the third and fourth. The last officer tried to escape. Vasily stood up. No one expected that with just these 5 bullets, he would become the Soviet sniper legend. He opened his coat to reveal his Tsarist medals. He wanted to join the Soviet army. The commander's expression immediately turned serious. He picked up the phone to call the guards, but the veteran cut the phone line with an axe, then knocked the commander unconscious because he had injured someone at the draft office. He had to shave off his beard and hair with the axe. To enlist in a different location, he secretly climbed aboard a train, quickly blending in with his charming personality. However, late at night, a soldier discovered his medals and threatened him to escape together. The veteran took the opportunity to pretend he was quitting smoking. The screams immediately woke the other soldiers. The veteran claimed the soldier jumped off the train to desert. The commander was very anxious if one deserter appeared. The commander would also be implicated at this moment. The veteran suggested impersonating someone. He successfully blended into the barracks, but due to his age, he was assigned to logistics, transporting explosives and wounded soldiers. One day, they were suddenly ambushed. The veteran pushed a comrade off the cart, then drew fire towards himself. The 60-year-old veteran wanted to join the reconnaissance unit, but a group of new recruits challenged him to a skill test. The soldiers threw out 2 knives. The veteran said nothing and pulled out an axe. The axe embedded itself between the two knives. Thus, the veteran successfully joined the reconnaissance unit. One day, while delivering explosives, he was suddenly stopped by two officers as he was about to report the cargo. The veteran woke up surrounded by German soldiers. It turned out the Soviet officers were impersonators. The German soldiers demanded the location of the command post, while the veteran pretended to be scared. He turned and, taking advantage of their distraction, pulled out the axe. Three men collapsed to the ground. At that moment, a patrolling German soldiers returned. The veteran hid behind a tree for a surprise attack. Two quick strikes sent them to meet death. Then he threw a grenade into the tent, eliminating the sleeping soldier. The veteran was already in a killing frenzy, taking one down after another. When the Soviet forces arrived for support, they couldn't believe it. With just an axe, the veteran had taken out unit.
The virus was inserted into his mouth through a needle. The man is enjoying himself because the virus was extracted from his idol's body for a few $100s. He can't feel the same pain as his idol, but the salesman secretly injected the virus into his own body. He managed to avoid the security guard's scrutiny. When he got home, he forced himself to endure the pain, opened the secret base in the closet. He used a machine to extract the star virus from his blood. Then he went to the underground trading center. He was ready to sell the virus at a high price, but the doctor told him that someone had already sold the same virus in advance. When he returned to his office in anger, he found out that his coworker had been arrested for selling the virus. The police found a virus isolator at coworker's home, one of the two missing from the company. Then the man was called to the office by the head of the company. Luckily, the company didn't suspect him. They even arranged for him to take over his colleague's job, to take the blood of the hottest star. Anna, if this virus is sold to others, I don't know how much money he could make. The man gritted his teeth and injected the blood into his body. A bride ended her pain by shooting herself in the street. That evening, as her husband went to identify her body, something chilling happened. He encountered what seemed to be the bride herself, who murdered him and then vanished. An eyewitness, a coachman, testified that she still bore the fatal gunshot wound from earlier. When Sherlock Holmes got wind of this eerie tale, he visited the morgue, only to find the bride's body was still there, with a massive head wound and chained so tightly she couldn't possibly have moved. No body switch had occurred, and the bride didn't have a twin. Moreover, new bloodstains were found on her hands, and the word "Yo" had mysteriously appeared on the morgue's wall. Was this the work of a ghost bride? Holmes was stumped. Yet the spectral bride's spree of revenge continued. 4 more men were found dead at their homes, surrounded by rice like at a wedding, with the word "Yo" scrawled in blood on their walls. Then, a woman came to Holmes in distress. Her husband had just received an ominous letter filled with orange seeds. It seemed the ghost bride was far from done.
The woman's palms were pressed against the wall. Her hands are trembling and she can't let go. Only when the red light comes on, she can only sit down to rest. Her whole body has lost its strength. A food was pushed outside the door. The woman just climbed to the door to take a sip of water. Red light came on again. The rest period is over. She can only press her hands against the wall again. A few days passed. She finally couldn't hold on any longer and lay down on the floor. Immediately, 2 men entered the room. They reminded her that her time was up. A man even pulled out a gun and threatened her to continue. She had to keep getting up, but the men took nails out of the toolbox. No matter how much the woman pleaded, her hands are still firmly fixed to the wall. The more the pain increases, the woman wanted to escape. When the red light finally went out, she pulled out both hands and fainted in the room. During this time, the woman didn't show any sign of dissatisfaction. Soon the red light came on again. The woman got up obediently, and then the man reappeared.